When you are truly called by God and you're going to be used mightily by God, you can look back down your life and see God's hand all in your life. I mean, from the spirit realm, from the gifts that He gave you to the physical things that you had to endure. There were times when I went through certain things and I wanted to give up because it got so hard. I'm like, God, there's no way like I can continue to do this. And I kept hearing the voice of God just saying, keep pressing, hold on, just keep going through and things of that nature. Because when you are going to go through certain things, and it's not always hard and you got to struggle through certain things, but when you get to the place where you have to trust God, when things don't look like it's going the way that it should go or look like what God said, you have to hold on and trust God. Now, I could give you many examples, but I want to give you an example that fits the call that is upon my life. So, in my 20s, I think I was almost going into my 30s. I worked at a detention center in my 20s, but I worked there about 4 years before they sent me to police academy. I went to police academy. I was about 29 going into 30. So I didn't have as much stamina as I did in my early 20s and things of that nature, and I wasn't really working out and just moving in the things that I ought to move in order to be trained to be the corrections officer that I already was working at a juvenile detention center. So when I went to the police academy, nobody prepared me. Nobody told me anything, and it prepared me because I never had a mentor, not a physical or one-on-one mentor. I watched people on TV to train me in the prophetic and things of that nature. So I understood that, that mentors we can have through watching videos and DVDs and CDs and things of that nature and getting the mentorship. But I went to the police academy. Nobody trained me. Nobody told me what I needed to prepare for. So some of the things that you must have is steel-toed boots, right? And then we had these uniforms that we had to wear. The uniform had this heavy belt, and there were other things that we had connected to the heavy belt. So when we went to the police academy, we was to dress in full uniform with the steel-toed boots. We had suitcases and things of that nature that we had to bring with us because we were going to be at the academy for 6 weeks. So we get to the academy. God sent one angel who helped me dearly because what they said to me is, leave your suitcases in the car until after we gonna meet with the drill sergeants, right? So I thank God for that because there were other people that were there. Nobody prepared them either. We had on these steel-toed boots. We had on full uniform. They brought their suitcases with them. Some of them had 2, 3 bags. But the way that they start training us from day one, it was hell on wheels because we had to run to the mess hall. First of all, we lined up and we stood there. We met the drill sergeants. They were all in our face and things of that nature. But then we had to find a place that we had never been to before. And you couldn't walk. You had to run. So it's running in steel-toed boots in full uniform. It's like 80, 95 degrees outside. People had their luggage and suitcase. You couldn't put anything down. Whatever you brought with you, the baggage that you brought with you, you were responsible for. The load that you were carrying, whatever you were wearing, you could not take anything off in the process. You had to move forward and run and find the mess hall and find out what was on the menu. And you could not come back until you found the mess hall, found out what was on the menu, and was able to come back to the drill sergeant and tell the drill sergeant what was on that menu. Now, what's my point? We carry a lot of baggage. There are a lot of things that we go through. There are a lot of things that we are not properly prepared for. There are things that weigh us down, things that are heavy, things that if we don't have angelic assistance or somebody to come in and help us to tell us certain things, that we are going to go into certain things blind. When we don't have mentors, when we don't have people who prepare us ahead of time, we go through this training. But in the training that we go through, we have to keep pushing and keep running and keep going, because eventually you're going to find what it is that you are looking for. And it's painful. My calves were hurting, my ankles were hurting, and my body was aching at night, and I had to get up 4:30 in the morning to prepare for the next day, because 5 o'clock we had to be in lineup in order for us to march 2 miles, and then we would go into the running phase of the academy. But the point of this training, of what it is that I'm saying to you, is that God allows us to go through certain things. But what we go through, we can't give up. You have to keep pushing, because if we didn't go through the academy, we couldn't keep our jobs. So you wouldn't be able to do what it is that you were gifted and that God has blessed us to be able to do. I wouldn't be able to keep my job if I did not go through this training. There were people the first day who walked away and went back home and had no job, but it was not an option for me. I thought about it, but I kept hearing Holy Spirit say, just go through. Now, I'm not going to say that it was easy them next 6 weeks, because them next 6 weeks, we went through training I never thought that I was going to make it through. Like I said, my body was out of shape. I was not in the mood to be doing push-ups and pull-ups and all of these things that you do at the academy. And every time I went back to the barracks, every time I went back to where we slept and things of that nature, I said, I'm quitting. I'm going home. I'm going to call somebody to come and get me. I'm leaving this place. But I went to sleep. I always woke up the next day on point, sharp, got up, do what I needed to do to prepare for the next day. So to keep going, to keep pushing, knowing that there was gold at the end of the rainbow, knowing that I was going to be blessed, if I stayed the course and things of that nature. I kept hearing Holy Spirit say, you're not a quitter. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. And even now that I'm thinking about it, even when I was in seminary, it was a lot of things that they were teaching, that they were just dismantling the Bible and putting things back together and showing how man's hand has been, things been redacted and things of that nature. I quit seminary so much within those 2 years that I went, and then I ended up going back for another 3 years for the master's program. And I quit every single day, because the deeper you go, the things that we learn, it was just too much to take, especially when you are moving from the religious, the churchified edition of what it is that you've been in church all your life, and you know how to shout and what the preacher said and what the Bible say, and just taking the Bible at face value. But when they begin to pull things apart, you want to quit. But I hear Holy Spirit saying to me during that time, don't quit. I saw them do things, throw Bibles in the garbage and talk about, the Bible being a piece of garbage and things of that nature. But the example was for us not to worship the Bible and not worship the God of the Bible, because there were many people who put the Bible into position and in place and treat it like it's royal, like it's holy, like it's just everything. But it's nothing until you read it and apply it and live it and become what the Bible calls us to be, not worshiping and making the Bible out of an idol. So what I'm saying to you is there are processes that we go through, preparation that we go through, so that when you get to what God has called you to do, you won't quit so easily. You'll see the hand of God. You'll know that there's gold at the end of the tunnel if you just hold on, if you just trust God. Lives are at stake. The people that are waiting for you that you were called to, the people who you're going to deliver, the people who you're going to lead to Christ, the people who are going to be saved, the people who are going to be equipped, the people who are going to be prepared to move forward, the things that you are going to build, the things that God has put in you to not only build in your country, but in other places, to establish, to root up, to tear down, things of that nature. You have to be prepared. In all your life, if you look back, God has been preparing you for what he called you to do. And in that preparation, you held on then, you come too far to give up now. All your life, if you're truly called, you can see the marks, the footsteps, the handprint of God leading and guiding you into purpose.